it's Lindsay from My Crafty Plans. Welcome back to my channel. I'm really excited. So today I'm going to be giving you an overview and my thoughts on the Day Designer Flagship Planner. I am super excited to be taking a look at this planner with you. I've been playing in here a little bit so that I could get a really good feel for it before I gave you my opinion, because it is a pretty pricey planner, so I wanted to make sure I had like a fully formed opinion rather than a initial thoughts for the video. Full disclosure, Day Designer did send me this planner for free. I am so thankful to them. So a huge thank you to Day Designer for sending that. They also gave me a coupon code for all of you. So if you are shopping at Day Designer, I have a coupon code for 10% off, which I will put across the screen and down in the links below. It's good off your whole order, but it can only be used one time. Although the planner was gifted to me, I am not being sponsored for this video, and as always, all opinions are my own. So first of all of the packaging involved in this is absolutely beautiful. This is actually the box that it was mailed in. I'm not gonna flip it over because you'll be able to see my address, but it's just like a teal box with this gorgeous gold stripe on the inside, and then has their little logo over here. Just a really, really pretty box. I will definitely be saving this. Then inside that box came another box, which is a planner storage box, and I actually think this is so stunning. It's really, really gorgeous. It's like a nice white box that's got their little embossed label on it, and then it has like a pull slide out thing, little drawer for your planner, and your planner fits in here perfectly. This is a little bit of an unusual size planner, so I don't know that you're really going to be able to store a lot of other different things, or that a lot of other planners are not going to fit in this box nicely. I mean, obviously anything smaller would, but it's just like a really unique size, and that is something to note. So this box is perfect for storing your Day Designer, but it's maybe not going to hold like some of your other notebooks and all of that. Although I guess actually this is actually a little bit bigger than other planners, so we can take a look at that in a minute. Anyway, this is the design that I picked out, which is called Savannah. It is absolutely gorgeous. I just thought this was such a fun and like kind of summery cover, but like also you could use this all year round, which is good because these covers are not replaceable. So just moving the box out to the side, again, this is the Savannah cover design, and this is one of their flagship daily planners. It is a dated planner from July 2022 to June 2023. They have some other layouts. This is what they call their flagship planner. But they do have some smaller size planners, some weekly planners, so even some undated stuff, so you can check it out if you want to see the other layouts, but I have the flagship daily. This planner is actually 9 by 9.75 inches. As I said, it's a little bit of an unusual size, but basically it's the same. It's like a little bit longer than a 7 by 9, like than an Erin Condren or another standard vertical, and much wider. So it's almost a square, not quite a square, but almost a square. I actually really like this size. I'm not sure about it for a daily planner that's like a little bit more space. I do use an A5 daily typically, but I think this is a really cool size for a planner, and I actually really love the monthly, this size for a monthly layout. I just have been thinking about upgrading my size spacing for a monthly planner, maybe for next year. So I do think this is a really cool size, but that is something to keep in mind. This is not a planner I would carry around with me. It is quite heavy. It's really, really thick and sturdy. Again, it is a daily planner, and it's quite a large daily planner, but if you are a person who keeps their planner out and open on their desks, this is just gonna look absolutely beautiful on your desk. It's really just a very beautiful piece. It's got a chipboard cover. They have a handful of different designs. The covers are not interchangeable, but they have lots of pretty different designs, and they do all have their logo on the front, and the logo is pretty big on the front, so that is something to note. Then you have this wire O binding in gold, and then the cover also has like these little corner pieces in gold. The gold on this is especially gorgeous. I love all of the foiling on the planner, all of this stuff. I am not a big fan of wire O binding, and even as I was messing around with this and moving around the pages and all kinds of stuff like that, I was already running into some trouble with the wire O binding, and you can see my bottom coil on the bottom there already got like a little bit messed up while I was just trying to flip around the pages and stuff like that. For that reason, I just much prefer a regular coil, like the Erin Condren style coil, or rings. It's just a little bit easier for me, but this does look really, really nice. It's very aesthetically pleasing. It's just not my favorite way to bind something. It also just came with 2 little information cards with just like some of their logo and branding and some information about the brand and what's inside the planner and all of their social media contact and everything like that. This planner is $68, so it is fairly pricey, but you can usually get at least 10% off. I do have my coupon code, and other folks have coupon codes as well if you are ordering from them. Once you open it up, you have this really nice pocket folder on the side. I really like this folder, and because it is like a bigger planner, it's a bigger folder, and there's actually 2 sheets of gold foiled stickers stuck in the pocket there. Both are just like on white paper, just kind of functional stickers. You've got some frequently used planner words, some little icons, and some flags and shapes and things like that. And then actually this sheet is the same. So you have 2 sheets of the same stickers stuck right in the corner there, and they're just foiled in a really nice gold foil. It's a really nice gold. It's like not too hot gold. It's going to match with a lot of like the regular Shopify, Etsy sticker shops, like that kind of gold foil. It's not like that super hot gold that you sometimes see in like the larger brands or even Erin Condren's gold foiling sometimes. Also, all of the tabs are in gold foil, and it's also just got a blank page on the front instead of like a vellum or the day page, like your name page starting right on the front. It's got just a plain blank page, which you could decorate or leave blank or pull out. I really like that. I think it's a nice touch because then if anything like gets on this page, it's not a big deal, but it also just gives this a really, really clean look. Then when you open it, you get into the actual planner, which has the day designer, the dates. It says the strategic planner and daily agenda for living a well-designed life. And then this day designer belongs to, if found, please contact, and then a space for your word of the year. So that's really, really cute. This paper, according to their website, is 100 GSM paper. So it's a little bit thinner than, say, an Erin Condren paper, but it is still a really nice planner paper, and it's like designed to be able to use your pens and markers. We will do a full pen test, but I've actually done a few spreads in here as like already, and so I know that this paper holds up to your pens at least fairly well because I was using my pens and markers in it. So then when you get in, there's like a lot of buildup in this planner before you get into the actual daily pages. If I were using this like full time and this was my main planner and I was gonna stick her in here, I might actually pull some of this stuff out just to save a little bit of space. You do have this really, really cute and nice ruler that runs the length of this. It snaps into the wire O binding, although it looks like you could kind of clip it into anything. It does say the day designer on the bottom. It's like very flexible and flimsy, but just really nice, and it runs like the whole length of the page almost, and it says today. And you could actually even shift this up and use this as a page marker, because if I put it like that, then the today part sticks up at the top, or you could tuck it in and hide the whole thing. So that's really cool. Then you've got this story about the day designer, you know, how to use your planner, and then a little assessment, and there's like a little bit of goal setting stuff in here. So it says self-assessment, where am I in my life, where you just have all of these different categories, and then you're supposed to rate how important they are to you from very important to not important at all. And I actually think that that's kind of cool as far as goal setting goes. Like in Moxie Life, which is what I use for my goal setting, there's a lot about just like rating yourself. And one of the things that I had mentioned way back when I filmed my first annual goal setup in there was like, my car is pretty messy, but I don't really care that it's messy. So, you know, just because something is something you should do doesn't necessarily mean it's really important to you. So I think that that's like an important element of goal setting, is thinking about where you are with something, but also thinking about how much it matters to you, because sometimes something that you should care about isn't really something you care about, and that's okay too. So then you have some things about what's important to you in your values, strengths, and passions. It's just like a little bit of goal setting stuff in here. I'm just really sold on the Moxie Life goal setting system for me personally, but this, if you're looking for kind of an all-in-one, this does have goal setting. What I will say is this is not as like, there's not as many steps walking through it, hand-holding, as there is in the Moxie Life system, but if you feel like really comfortable with just setting more long-term goals and not having a specific system to break those down, like there's no breaking your goals down into monthly goals, it's just like 12, 9, 6, and 3, so it's just like quarterly, and then there's no place to break that down monthly, and there's no place for like weekly action items or your goals for your goals or anything like that in here. So if that's important to you, this may not be the goal setting system for you, but if you're looking for something with like a little bit of a goals overview, this does have that. And it does actually have like monthly actions for your goal, a weekly routine, a daily habit, and what progress looks like. So it's not zero guidance and zero help. It's just maybe not quite as much as like a full goal setting system like Power Sheets or Moxie Life is. Then after that, it has space to map out an ideal month and an ideal day and like for the whole week, so you can just map out like what your ideal schedule looks like. A lot of people do spreads like this in bullet journals. I've seen other people do things like this. I personally don't find this super helpful, but there is space for it if it is something that you find helpful. Different things work for different people. Then you have your 12-month overview. This is a page where I really appreciate the size of this planner. I think that this is so much more useful than those teeny tiny little dot calendars that come in the beginning of most planners, because there's actually some space in this. Now, I have pretty big handwriting, so I'm not going to be writing a whole lot in here, but there is enough space to put in some color coding and put in some stuff on the days. The only thing is there's not really space for like you to put in a key unless you were doing it really, really tiny at the bottom, because this page is super, super full. But I do think that this is a cool way to do like a year at a glance rather than having like the really tiny, tiny calendars. So I do really like this. The weekends are all shaded in, which I don't like. And the weekends are shaded on the monthly spreads, which I'm not a huge fan of either, but I like the overall size of this. So you could use your dot marker and like color code different kinds of days, or put in like little highlighter strips to just kind of make yourself like mark all of your pay days, mark all of your vacation days, something like that. And this is going to give you a little bit more space than your average year at a glance. Then there is a list of holidays and a section for birthdays and other important days. And that is actually right on the tab for July. So there is no cover page for July. And actually there's no cover page for any of the pages in here. The tab pages do feel like a little bit thicker than the regular pages. So they are like not quite cardstock, but they're definitely a little bit thicker. The lamination is only on the tab part, but this runs like full front to back. There's no cover page or anything like that on the tab. I really like the foiling on the tabs though, but I do like to put a cover page on my tabs in the planner. Then you dig right into the monthly spread. They all look the same, so I'm actually just gonna show you one in the middle because I think it'll be like a little bit easier to see with the planner laying flat. I had a really hard time moving the pages around here, and that's like something that I do all of the time. Like when I'm in my daily duo, I'm like constantly shuffling and rearranging the pages so that the coil lies with like the same amount, roughly the same amount of pages on the same page. I was able to completely fold this in half with no problem, but I wasn't able to do like that kind of thing where you kind of keep it open. I guess you could do like that. I had some trouble when I started moving things around sort of like that style. When I went to open it back up, that's how I kind of messed up the bottom coil. That being said, it worked super well that time, so I'm not sure if it was just like slightly out of sync when I got it and now it's kind of fixed. But just be careful whenever you're doing YRO binding. When you're moving pages around, you should always be kind of careful. Even with a regular coil, although way more so with YRO binding, it has just like a tendency to kind of get a little weird. Anyway, here's what the monthly spread looks like. You've got a pretty big section at the top with the December written in like an outline bubble letter type font, and then you have a Monday start with a sidebar on the left-hand side. So the sidebar is not on the right-hand side. A lot of monthly calendars are on the right-hand side. This one is on the left, but it is a Monday start, which I like because the weekends are together. What I don't like though is that the weekends are actually shaded out in this planner. I don't know if you can see it on camera all that well, but it's actually super, super obvious and clear in person. It's just a light gray, like kind of line diagonal shading on Saturday and Sunday. So I'm not a fan of that, especially on a monthly spread. I don't mind like stacked weekend days on, which this also has, or split weekend days on a daily planner or on a weekly planner. Honestly, I don't use my planners as much on the weekends, but the shading on the monthly is a bit much for me. The days are all like 1 2/3 inches by 1 2/3 inches. They do look like a square to me. I was just trying to check. I'm like not the most careful measurer, but they do look at least pretty square to me, which I really like. And again, this is another spread that I just really appreciate the size of this planner. I like a lot of space in my monthly spreads. If you've seen my monthly functional spreads, you will know why I appreciate a lot of spreads. That being said, I just wish that they were all plain white squares with just the numbers and nothing else in them. You do have some holidays and little flags on the holidays, which for me, the flag is not necessary. Just putting the holiday is more than enough. The notes section is lined with that super light like dot line section, which that I don't mind. Then the bar at the top is pretty dark. I do wish that this was a lighter color as well. Overall, this planner is extremely neutral. There's no color in here. Everything is like white and shades of gray, which I really appreciate. But I do think that there's like a couple of little tweaks that they could make to make this like a little bit more sticker and washi friendly, like making this bar a little bit lighter, taking out the shading and removing the flags. But overall, those are pretty minor things. I do just really like the size of this. And you do have a lot of space at the top where you could put a key or decorations, washi, whatever you want. All of the pages do say like daydesigner.com and whatever on the bottom as well. So then next you get into the daily spreads, excuse me, not weekly spreads. So these are the same for every day except Saturday and Sunday, which I will show you in just a second. So this is, it's a little bit different of a layout. All of the font in here is super small, which I think is helpful in case you want to be whiting out and changing things. All of the day say up at the top with the full day name and the date. Then there is like a little dotted line with a quote. I will show you the spreads that I've already done in here. This is actually the exact size of a 10mm roll of washi so that you can cover the quote. It's pretty light. I covered the quote without whiting it out. I'm not a quote person, but if you are a quote person, there's just a different quote on every single day. I don't really know if they repeat or not, but there are just like a lot. So there's a lot of quotes. And then you get a little section up at the top. I love this section at the top. This is actually probably one of my favorite things about the planner. You have a section for today's top 3, and then over here in this little box, you have one that says do, one that says dinner, one that says dollar, and one that says don't forget. So some fun little alliteration there, really useful boxes. Even if you don't use all of them, I used them all on the first time I did a spread in here, except I didn't have anything to write in the dollar section because it's not something I track. So I just covered it with washi. And then I was like, oh, well, why don't I just put something else in there? So the second time I planned with me, I switched up what some of the categories were, but it's just really nice to have those little 4 section at the top to fill out things. I really like that. Then you have a today on one side running your schedule for the day and a to-do list that is very long on the other side. The today section runs from 5 to 9, but it is in hour increments, not in half-hour increments. So you do get a really long period of day, but in general, I prefer having the half-hour time slots. It just works better with my life. That is a personal preference, though, not a knock against the planner. You do get a really long thing here. Then you have space for 17 to-dos running. Most of the days that I tried this out for, I didn't have enough space for the to-dos. Like I didn't have 17 things to list out in addition to the top 3 at the section. So really you have a space for like 20 different to-dos. So I did cover some of that with washi and turn some of it into a quote area. Again, you can always customize. Then at the bottom, you have this section down here, which has space for notes and a space for daily gratitude. I was able to sneak more of that 10mm washi down at the bottom as well to make it look nice and capped together. It's fun to have a little bit of daily gratitude, little space to put something in. A lot of planners have that. It's not my personal jam for every day, but I did do it on the days that I used this planner. Then in the notes section, I do really like this because one thing that I always love to have is like a section for tomorrow or next week or whatever. You can use this for anything. I tended to use that for reminders for the next day. So that is what all of the weekdays look like. They all look exactly the same. It alternates. The days are not always on the same side of the page. It just depends on when the month starts. So this is a Thursday start month because we are in December and that's what it is. And then let me show you what the weekend looks like. So the weekend does look a little bit different. You have Saturday and Sunday split on the same page running vertical, not up down. So it's left right. So you have Saturday on the left hand side, Sunday on the right hand side. You don't get those 4 boxes that you got before. So it still does have a quote up at the top. Again, I'm not a fan of quotes, and this is one of the reasons why. So this is a quote from Henry Ford, who is, in my mind, a very controversial figure and a known anti-Semite, and it's just here in this planner, and I don't really need that in my planner. I don't need any quotes in my planner, but I especially don't need that, and I've seen that in other planners too, like quotes coming from all different people that you may or may not like, and you probably just don't want a quote from someone that you don't appreciate in your planner. So I would rather have no quotes. And then you have your space for top 3 for each day, for Saturday and Sunday, and then just the schedule. So there is no to-do list on the weekends, which I think was an interesting choice, that it's just a schedule and not the weekends. I did plan out one weekend day while I was doing this, and I just kind of peppered my to-do listing into the days. That being said, I feel like maybe doing a morning, evening, afternoon, and like a little space for to-do list or something like that might have been like a little bit better, because I feel like I have less of a schedule and more to-dos on the weekend than the other way around, but you may feel differently. Again, that's all just personal preference. I know a lot of people prefer it when the weekends are not on the same day in a planner, but for the way that I use my planner, that personally doesn't bother me. And you do still have the top 3. I just would prefer more to-do listing space and kind of like less scheduling space for the weekends. Something that I do really like is down at the bottom, instead of the notes and gratitude section, you get an overview of next week. I think this is really cool, because one of the first things that I do when I'm going to plan out my next week is just like look and be like, do you have any appointments or deadlines next week? Let's quick make a note of that before we do anything else. And that's like the perfect amount of space to do that. You have a doctor's appointment, just plop it on the right day, a deadline for work, something like that. It's a really little weekly overview. You could just put your dinners for the next week, whatever you want to do. But I do really, really like that. So this is a 12-month planner, so it runs from June to July, and then I don't actually think there is anything else at the end. Again, you can see when I try and move a bunch of pages at once, and actually here I'm running into some problems with the binding that I'm really struggling with here, so I can't even get this open. Again, this is just why I don't like wire O binding, so just have to like wiggle that all the way over there, which hopefully you can see some of that. Anyway, okay, so then at the back here, you just have, this is the last day, June 30th, and then there's just a blank page on the back here. So going back, let me show you the actual spreads that I did. Again, it was really hard to get that closed after I had been rolling it. So they're all gonna be closer to the front. Okay, so here is the first spread that I planned out for. This was just a day in July. I actually just like went ahead and black planned this using my Erin Condren Daily Duo, which is my main functional planner, to test this out, see how I would kind of translate it, see what I wanted to do. So I had my top 3 for the day. I covered the quote with a washi. Again, I didn't even white it out. I just put the washi on it. Up close and personal, I can see it a little bit through, but on camera, and I think you can probably barely see it. It's pretty light, so you don't really need to white it out. Of course, you always could. And then I ran a little bit of washi at the bottom as well. That does peak just over the dotted line, but I still had plenty of space to use that space. So I have my top 3 on the do. I put a work deadline that I had. I put our dinner up at the top. Again, I just covered the dollars because I was just like thinking very linearly at that point. But then later when I went back to it, I was like, oh, I should just reuse that as something else that's usable space. And then I had like one don't forget to do in this section there. So then I put in my schedule. It took me while I was like halfway through the day to realize that they weren't half an hour slots, that hour slots. So I did have to like kind of adjust how I was doing things. But I still have had space to fit everything in. Again, I prefer the half-hour increments. It just works better with my schedule, but this, you do get a nice long time of the day. And then I put in my to-dos for the day, and then I just made a little quote section at the bottom since I didn't really need it. I did use this notes as like a little section for tomorrow and the daily gratitude. So then I went ahead and just planned the next day after this as well. After having a little brainstorm about it, I had a little bit of a hard time planning on this side of the day. I did eventually flip the planner over, but you know, writing up against the coil is very difficult. And like I said, this doesn't move as easily as a regular coil planner. So I just grabbed a different washi here. I've got a top 3 again, and this time I repurposed the top section. So I still had a don't forget where I put that I had a car appointment, and I put in our dinner planner for the night, but then on the other two, I switched them to be from the do and dollars. I didn't have anything due this day, so I put the weather in up at that section, and then I put my video, my YouTube video for the day up there. Then same wise, I did the same schedule and the to-do list, and again, I didn't need the whole list, so I went ahead and just made a little quote box, which just says back to school is coming, because it is. And then I just put in a note for tomorrow and the daily gratitude, same. So I also did plan a weekend day. I planned a weekend day for up in August, and I actually planned for the weekend ahead, so this hasn't happened yet. I wanted to try out those 2 daily spreads I did do as like back planning style just to test this out, but I wanted to do some forward planning playing with the weekend spread here. So I did a top 3 for the days. On Saturdays, we don't really have a lot of to-dos, but I did put 2 in, and then just like 1 is just having fun. And then on this one, I did put in, again, 2 to-dos and like 1, just the focus for the day. So then I did make my schedule on both of the days, and I just kind of put the checklist things right in using a dot marker. And then I went ahead and added in my little overview for next week. Again, this is probably my favorite, one of my favorite features of this planner. If you're gonna do like a split and condensed weekend spread, why not throw a weekly overview in there? You're already sacrificing the space, so someone who's using this planner obviously doesn't care about having like as much space on a weekend as they do on the regular day. So, you know, you might as well use a little bit of that to do what a lot of us do on Sundays, which is get ready for next week. So that is kind of the overall overview of the planner and my thoughts on it. I think this planner has a lot of wonderful features. Overall, I had a lot of fun playing with this, and I will definitely keep playing with it and using it on certain days, especially if I have like a lot of to-dos or need a longer schedule. I think it could be really fun to bring in during those kind of days. But for me, the Daily Duo with the smaller size and the half-hour time slots and all of that kind of stuff just works better for my lifestyle. But I do think this is a really, really high-quality product. The kind of coil issues aside. Okay, really quick before we go, let's do a pen test. I'm actually just gonna do it, since I'm keeping this planner, I'm just gonna do it on one of the days that has already happened, which honestly, like I kind of know how this paper is gonna go with pens because I use pens on it, but I will still do a pen test, and I also didn't put any stickers down on this paper, so I will put some stickers down and then pull them back up. I've got some dot markers, some mild liners, brush and regular, my EC asterisk pen, which has become one of my favorite functional pens, and my favorite gel pens and a fine liner as well. So let me go and test all of these. Okay, so let's pull up the stickers. I did grab a sticker from Scribble Prints Co., which was glossy, and then a matte paper sticker right from the sheet that was included with this, and they both pulled up absolutely beautifully. This is definitely good stickering paper. I have seen other people use stickers in these planners on Instagram, like little deco stickers and stuff like that. The sticker feel of this is really nice, and the paper does feel really nice when you write on it. It's a little bit thinner than I typically like. I prefer 120 GSM paper, but this is overall a pretty nice paper, and there are a lot of pages in here, so I think that's probably why they use a thinner paper. The dot marker and the asterisk marker, the harder press down went like heavy ghosting to light bleeding, I would say, but the lighter press of the dot marker was okay. Some ghosting or shadowing, and as well the darker color of the mild liner had like some faint ghosting, like really not all that bad as well. So if you are using a dot marker, I would just, especially a darker color, I would just be careful with how hard you press down. But in general, this paper holds up to pens and markers pretty well, and it's a nice quality planner paper, which I would expect for a planner of this price. Okay, that is everything for today and for the Day Designer overview. If you use a Day Designer, either the Flagship Daily or another one, definitely let me know in the comments down below. I would love to hear about it. A big thank you to Day Designer for providing me with this planner. I'm really excited I got to share it with all of you. Don't forget to check me out on Instagram at mycraftyplans, and if you are shopping with the Day Designer, use my coupon code mycraftyplans10. I will put it in the description below as well. You can save 10% off your order, and I will talk to you soon. Bye!